my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I said quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past the brink.
Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Roxanne. Thanks so much for joining me. Welcome to my channel. If you guys are not new, thanks so much for clicking on the video. Today's going to be a little bit different of a video because I wanted to do kind of, not a story time really, but just a little bit more of a get to know me video because I don't really do a whole lot of these on my channel. And not very many of my subscribers know about this part of my life. So I wanted to go ahead and do this video just as kind of like a pep talk. There's so much negativity in the world, especially going on like right now with social media, and it just is really sad. And so I just kind of wanted to come on and talk to you all. So I'm going to be talking to you guys today about how I live every day with a very serious chronic illness and how I've never given up on my dreams. So let's jump in. You guys, so first things first, I promise you this will not be a Debbie Downer video. This is going to be a video about how hard I've worked and how it is so important, if you have an illness like mine, to never give up on your goals and your dreams, and how it is so crucial to continue to fight for what you want. So yeah. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything that I say in this video, please feel free to go ahead and leave them down below and I will be glad to answer them. Otherwise, let me just kind of tell you guys my story. For those of you that don't know, I am a kidney patient. I was diagnosed with a chronic kidney illness called polycystic kidney disease when I was 22 years old. Either 22 or 23. It was when I was pregnant with my son. I always knew that I had kidney issues before. I always had infections, I always had kidney pain, I always had just a lot of lethargy. So I didn't quite know what it was from because my dad is adopted and I don't have a lot of family history. But I always knew that there was something there. So lo and behold, when I was pregnant with my son, in utero, he was diagnosed with the same illness, PKD for short. And they had to do a bunch of genetic testing, and turns out that I was also a carrier as well as a holder. I guess like they say like you're like a carrier of the disease, or you have the gene, and my son and I are both carriers while my daughter is a gene holder. And so I was diagnosed with PKD, and it was a very, very difficult transition. It was a very difficult time in my life. I was young, I was impressionable, I was naive. I was pregnant with my second child, told that there was a possibility that he may not survive, that he could have Down syndrome, that, you know, just all kinds of variables. And I was not ready to hear all that at 22 or 23 years old. And I went into a deep, deep spiral of depression being pregnant with my son. And I am nobody to say to anybody else that you should be ashamed for anything that you are ever going through. If you go through anything similar to depression or bipolar or manic or whatever it may be, or, you know, some kind of mental illness or physical illness, you should never apologize for it. You should never feel guilty for it. It is not your fault. These things happen and there's nobody to blame. So it took me a really long time to accept that. It took me, God, my son was almost 3 by the time I started to really feel like it was okay that I was diagnosed with this illness, and that I could survive, and that I could be strong and healthy, and that I could be vibrant. So when I was first diagnosed, I didn't know how to deal with it. I was very dramatic. I played the victim card. I tried every angle, every aspect, every kind of doctor I could whine to, I did. And it wasn't until I met my current doctor that I've had for the last almost 10 years, at one of the best hospitals here in Utah, that he kind of gave me a wake-up call and talked to me as if I were a person, and kind of slapped me out or snapped me out of this victim role that I was playing. And I think that we all go through stages when we're diagnosed with an illness, or when we're diagnosed with anything that's happening in our life, cancer, mental illness, whatever it may be. I think that we all go through stages. You know, they have the 7 stages of coping or of transitioning, and I definitely went through all of those when I was first diagnosed, and most of that had to do with depression. It had to do with not knowing how to cope, playing the victim, and it took me a lot of years to essentially snap out of it and wake up and continue to grow and to be the mom that I was supposed to be. I already had my daughter at this time. She was 4 years old when I was diagnosed, and when I was pregnant with my son. So I had this little baby, you know, inside my belly, and a 4-year-old who depended on me, and I did not know how to continue to be a mom. I slipped into this severe attitude that nothing was right and everything was wrong, and why did I deserve this, and I hate God, and I hate this, and I hate that. And that is totally normal. I have done a ton of research on this topic. I have done a ton of soul searching. I have done a ton of reading and writing and talking and going to support groups, and it took me, still to this day I struggle with it, but it took me a really long time to accept and to come to terms with the fact that this was not a death sentence, and I was able to live and strive and grow strong for myself and my son, who I learned was also going to have this same illness. So let me talk to you guys a little bit about what PKD is, what it does, what the symptoms are, and maybe you guys will understand a little bit more as to why it is difficult to live with this illness, to live with this disease, and why it's so important that we as a society understand that it is a very, very fast growing illness, and it is ignored in a lot of different communities. So let me go ahead and put some information here as I'm talking for you, some definitions, some descriptions, and then I will give you my own expertise and my own situations, my own experience with this type of disease, and then we will talk about how I have grown to accept it, to move on, and my goals in life and my aspirations for not, you know, succumbing to the victim role anymore. So let's go ahead and first talk about the symptoms and things like that. So there are 2 types of polycystic kidney disease. You have autorecessive and autodominant. Unfortunately, many children are born with autodominant PKD, which means that the dominant genes within them are a very serious form of polycystic kidney disease. A lot of the time, they don't make it past a certain age, or they have to be on dialysis very soon in their life, or they have to get a transplant within the first couple years. Then the more popular kind is autorecessive PKD. That is the kind that I have. Now, ironically, my son has autorecessive, but he is a child, so his should have been autodominant. However, it's kind of a medical mystery. The doctors really aren't sure why he was born with autorecessive as a child and didn't develop it over time. A lot of it has to do with me being diagnosed and my disease kind of coming full circle while I was pregnant with him. So they think that somehow the genes from myself carried into my son, and he then became autorecessive. Part of the problem with PKD is that it is a chronic illness, especially as you are older. So for example, children with autorecessive, which is very, very rare, hardly ever have pain. It's more so the children with autodominant that have a lot of pain. However, in adults with autorecessive PKD, the pain is chronic, and it causes me to have to be on pain medications every day. I do take quite a bit of pain medications, which I will not get into on my channel because that is something extremely personal, but I will tell you that I cannot function because my pain is so bad unless I do take my pain medicines on a daily basis. Another part of PKD is high blood pressure, which then leads to these cysts. These cysts then burst, and that is a part of the pain that is caused in PKD. You bleed, and it's just a really uncomfortable part of the disease, and it causes a lot of people a lot of really severe pain. I have been lucky because my blood pressure has been managed very well by my doctors at St. Mark's Hospital, and I am on blood pressure medication, which keeps my blood pressure in check. Otherwise it would be extremely high, and I would risk the chance of my cyst bursting and then in turn having chronic pain even more than I already do. The pain is not as severe as it will be when I get into my later 40s. Right now it's being sustained as far as me being in my 30s, but once I get into my 40s, that's when the pain really starts to get unbearable, even with pain medication, and that's when you have to start thinking about a transplant and or dialysis when you're getting into your 50s. Now with this disease, you can definitely live. You can have a long, healthy life as long as you are able to manage it well. You drink lots of water, you take care of yourself as best as you can, you stay active physically, mentally, emotionally, and you're just not checked out. A lot of the time people will think that, again, it's a death sentence and there are things that they can't do, but kidney patients, especially ones with PKD in the early stages, are able to do everything that a lot of people can. And that is where I feel very lucky and blessed that my son, because he is able to still be a normal kid, even though eventually in his life he will have to be on the transplant list or be getting dialysis, as will I. So that's kind of the gist as to what the disease is and what it entails. It just causes a lot of fatigue, things like that. And it just is one of those things that kind of happens and it's nobody's fault. But, you know, kind of going back to when I was first diagnosed, that's when I think my depression was the heaviest, and I have gone through a lot since then. I have severe anxiety over it. I have still depression every once in a while when I have an outbreak or when I have, you know, kind of my cysts are a little bit heavier on a certain day. That's when I start to really, really hurt, and that's when I start to really want to just lay in bed and essentially just hunch over and into a ball. Okay, so basically I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about how I cope with PKD and how I ensure that my son has the best life possible as well. So it's really important for me to stress to you guys that it is okay for you to go through whatever you have to go through in order to get to the point that I'm at now. I went through numerous depression spells. I went through numerous sleeping spells, anxiety. I didn't want to talk to anybody, do anything, be around anyone, go anywhere. And I now, looking back, I don't have to feel guilty about that anymore. I don't have to feel ashamed. I don't have to feel like it was wrong, because I had to experience what I experienced in order for me to cope with the fact that I do have a chronic illness and that I am a kidney patient. And I just kind of wanted to come on here to stress to you guys that if you are going through anything, mental illness, cancer, sexual abuse, anything that is emotionally or mentally exhausting or frustrating or depressing, or just anything that you feel you are being drained by, it is okay to feel that way. You should not feel guilty. You should not feel as though you are an enigma. You should not feel as though you are a person that needs to be sheltered, or that you don't have the now ability or the right to be out in the world, because you are just like everybody else. And it is so important that I make sure that my message is clear, that you are still able to dream and have goals, and you are still able to make sure that you live your life to the fullest. It was incredibly hard for me at first to say, I want to make it to this age and do these things and have these goals, because I felt that beyond the edge of my nose, I couldn't see where I was going. It is very important that I stress to you guys that this illness is a fatal illness if not treated. And eventually, if I were to let this go or not take care of myself, it is something that could kill me. And so with that mindset, I was stuck in for so long. I didn't want to see my future. I didn't want to see my goals. And I feel like young people, or, you know, even people who are not young, who go through things like this, who are diagnosed with illnesses or diagnosed with any mental or physical detriment, I feel like they go through these stages And it takes a long time to get to where I am. And I still struggle with the fact that I'm a kidney patient. And every time I take a pill, I know in my head, oh, I'm a kidney patient. I'm reminded of it every single day. When the pain comes, I'm reminded of every single day. But I am here to tell you guys, there is a way to have a life. There is a way to have goals. There is a way to have everything that you have ever wanted. And I can sit here and say to you, after going through depression and anxiety and bipolar disorder and a chronic illness and pain and fatigue and physical detriments, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It may not seem like it right now. It may seem like you are stuck in this hole and you can't get out of it, and it's black and you're crawling and you're crawling and your nails are breaking and you're out of breath. Right now, that's where you are, but soon it will be to the point where you can actually cope and you can have goals and you can set forth your future. It took me a really long time to see anything beyond the next day, because I was in the role that was it for me. There was nothing else. This was going to be my end. It was going to be, you know, the way that I ended my life, or the way my life ended it. And now that I have started my channel, it has become an outlet for me to have something to hold on to and a goal to have. And it has become for me basically like an energy source. You guys, my subscribers, you have become my heart. And being a mom and being a wife is so important to me. But being on this channel and showing you guys that there is hope, and there is always a positive, and there's always a silver lining. That is what's most important, and that is why I tell you my story. Because I could have still, 10 years later, been the same person who was diagnosed at 22, 23, that I didn't have to crawl out of that hole, but I did, because I knew that there were other things that were meant for me to do, and there were other stories I was meant to tell, and there were other people that I were meant to impact. And a lot of my reason for starting my channel is because I wanted to be a voice, and I wanted to be an advocate, and I wanted to be a shining light for those that were going through similar things that I was going through, or that I have gone through. But I just wanted you guys to know that I have been where you are, and I have been at the deep, deep, deep dark bottom, and I am now finally finding my light, and you will too. And I want to thank you for those of you that have been along on this journey with me, and I want to thank you guys for being there to support me, and each and every new subscriber I get, and each and every new view I get, and each and every person who joins me on this journey. I am so grateful for, and I am so excited for my future, and I'm so excited to see where this YouTube journey takes me, because for so long I was stuck in this hole, and I was stuck in this rut that I couldn't see the end of the tunnel. I couldn't see the light. And now that I am here, and that I am talking with you guys, and that I am growing and learning things about myself as a person and a mother and a wife, I am so grateful to you all. And it just means the world to me that you see that I truly am genuine and honest and loyal, and that I will be here to be that voice for you, for whatever you need. So I thank you again for being my savior, and for being a huge part of where I am now, and where I want to go, and where I see myself in the future. And if you have any questions or any comments or anything about this disease, or you are going through something similar, or you are struggling with trying to cope or to deal, please leave me something in the comments. Leave me a question, leave me a concern, ask me anything you want. I am an open book, and I will be glad to give you guys any advice, any kind of wisdom that I may have. I would love to hear back from you and engage in a conversation about those of you that are going through the same thing that I went through. Now that I have come so far, I can see myself 30 years from now, 40 years from now, doing what I love, doing things that I have always wanted to do. And that's why I didn't want to waste another day and take advantage of it, because time is so precious, you guys. You never ever know when you're going to lose time. And it is so important that you take every moment for what it's worth. And just don't take advantage of your life and who you are and what you're doing and what you want to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you being here with me and listening to my story. And give me a thumbs up if you want more videos like this. I would love to tell you more of my story. I would love to tell you my background, things that I've experienced, things that I've gone through. I would love to just kind of talk to you guys about real life and experiences and give you some of my words of wisdom. You know, I may be young, but I've lived through a lot, and I really do appreciate you guys watching. And if you want to become a part of the Edgy fam, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button and we can go on this journey together. So that's all I have, you guys. I really do appreciate you watching the whole thing and listening to my story. I will see you all in my next video. Take care. Bye.